some things that we keep as foundational in this ministry. And every now and then, it's important for us to come back to those areas to just remind ourselves. There was a song several years ago that said, sometimes I gotta remind myself.
Hallelujah.
You know, so every now and then we have to remind ourselves, why do we do what we do? Why? You know, we look strange, y'all. We look strange. And amongst the strange, we look even more strange. Do y'all realize that?
It's true.
When there's a bunch of strange people around, we are the strangers of the strange. So we're going to talk about why. Why obedience to Torah? We're going to talk about why. And we're going to talk about this Torah, which is the law of liberty. We're going to talk about how this law sets us free. And it truly sets us free. And last time I talked about this, I gave you a little example. And I'm going to use the same example again. Tried to think of another one, but I said, you know what? This is the one. So I'm going to use the same example. So, I know for some of you it's a few more years back, you know, but I need everybody to go back to their teenager days. When they was teeny boppers running around in high school and stuff. You know, I know for some, you know, it's way in the back of that head. You know, you got to go way back. Let's think about that. Teenage days. Mom or dad says you can't do something, right?
That's right.
Typically, what was our feeling about that? You're stopping me from doing what I want to do. Now, what is your interpretation of that? If we look at the theme of today is bondage versus freedom. We have been told that we, keepers of the law, we that observe the commandments, are in bondage because we've been freed from the law. So we're in bondage. That's the message is for us. That's what people want us to believe, right? So our theme of today is bondage versus freedom. So if your parents said, you know what, no, you can't go to XYZ, automatically, bondage or freedom? Bondage, right? You're putting me in bonds. I can't do what I want to do. Now, let's go to the parent's perspective. Parent knows that there is danger involved. Parent knows that this might not be a good thing because of the outcome. That parent understands that this is truly freedom for you. So it all comes back to your maturity. How many of you think you matured since you were in high school? Okay. So this comes back to your maturity that now you can look back on that and understand that truly when you thought you were being put in bondage, you were being put in a position that you could live, that you could move. I asked this question last time I taught this message. Think about this. Who walks around at 20,000 feet in the air? Well, there are some people that walk around at 20,000 feet in the air. Anybody that's on an airplane?
I might say that.
So, within the confines of obeying the law of gravity, you can walk in 20,000 feet in the air. But the second someone tries to break that law, i.e. jump out the plane, what happens? They break the law of gravity. The law of gravity still applies whether you're in the airplane or not. What makes an airplane fly? The fact that they engineered the plane to obey the law of gravity. They engineered the plane to obey the law of gravity. If they break the law of gravity, if an engine goes out, if two engines goes out, if something hits the plane, if something happens that throws that plane out of line with that law, the freedom that you had is suddenly bondage.
Right.
Disobedience is what equals bondage, right? So let's go to the word, because my word ain't nothing. Can't hold much water, so. But Yahweh's word made the water, so I figured we can be good with that. So let's go now to Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we're going to start reading at verse 16. We're going to read down to 25 at the end of the chapter. Now, we understand that the Exodus represents a very pivotal time in history, especially as it pertains to freedom versus bondage. When they were in Egypt, were they in freedom or were they in bondage?
Bondage.
They were in bondage when they were in Egypt. Why did they want to leave Egypt?
They want to be free.
To be free. They wanted to go from bondage to freedom, right? Okay, so let's begin reading. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16, and we're going to read down. And it reads, "Do not try Yahweh your Elohim as you tried him in Massa. Diligently guard his commands, or guard the commands of Yahweh your Elohim and his witnesses and his laws which he has commanded you. And you shall do what is right and good in the eyes of Yahweh, that it might be well with you. And you shall go in and possess the good land of which Yahweh swore to your fathers, to drive out all your enemies from before you, as Yahweh has spoken. When your son asks," this is a key part here, "when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is the meaning of the witnesses and the laws and the right rulings which Yahweh our Elohim has commanded you?" Now, let's just kind of pause right there. Who's the sons of these people? Us. These are the generations that are asking this question. This is why people come to you and say, now, why do you keep the Sabbath? This is the question that's asked. Why do you believe that we are still obligated to keeping the laws of God? Or, no, I take that back, they'll say the laws of Moses. Okay? Why do you feel like we're still under the law of Moses? This is the question that he's saying they're going to ask. 20 again. When your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is the meaning of the witnesses and the laws and the right rulings which Yahweh our Elohim has commanded you? You. Notice it said you. He commanded you. He didn't say commanded me. Commanded you. In other words, I'm not liable to that. I'm putting it on you. Now, this is what you're going to say to your son. Then you shall say, we were slaves of Pharaoh in Mitzrayim. We were in bondage. We were slaves of Pharaoh in Mitzrayim. And Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand. And Yahweh sent signs and wonders great and grievous upon Mitzrayim, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. This is witnesses. And he brought us out from there to bring us in. What did he bring us out of? To bring us into
Freedom.
Thank you. He brought us out of bondage to bring us into freedom. Brought us out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, to bring us into the promised land. To bring us in. Now, finish this out. 23. To give us the land of which he swore to our fathers. Why? Because he's a promise keeper. And Yahweh commanded us to do all these laws, to fear Yahweh our Elohim for our good always, to keep us alive as it is today. And it is righteousness for us. when we guard to do all this command before Yahweh our Elohim as he has commanded us. Now notice, the question that the son asked was, why is it that you do this? And notice the response was, we, us. Notice those words. We're students of this word for a reason. You gotta pay attention to those little details. Because the son wants to automatically, this is us, separate ourselves from what? The bondage that says you can't go to that party. The bondage that says you can't go do this or do that, right? Going back to that parental example. Because mama, daddy, you putting me in bondage. But the answer here is, son, there is freedom in the laws of Yahweh. There is freedom. Don't allow anybody to tell you that you're in bondage because of obedience. Because at the end of the day, your parents you always figured out, even if it's now, if you got to think back. Now, I'm going to make y'all raise your hand on this, and we're just going to have to call everybody out on it. Now, how many of y'all sat down, did something, saw your kids do something, saw something on the news, anything, and thought back in your head, my mama, my daddy was right. Yeah. They was right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a level of maturity. There's a level of maturity. They weren't in a position, that's why he said one day your son is going to ask you this. They're not yet in a position to understand why it is. So again, I'm going to read the end of that answer in 23. And he brought us out of there to bring us in, to give us the land of which he swore to our fathers. And Yahweh commanded us, son, me and you, not just me, but he commanded us to do some of his laws until we want to get rid of the others. No, he commanded us to do all these laws, to fear Yahweh. Now, fear is a term of obedience. You fear because you respect, therefore you obey. So again, and Yahweh commanded us to do all these laws to fear Yahweh our Elohim for whose good? For our good. When? Sometimes just before Jesus died? What does it say?
Always.
Always. When does always come? Always never comes. Always. Always is always here, so it never ends and it never starts. It's just always. This is when John said in the beginning was what? The Word. The Word. The Word. The Word is what held everything in place. What is the Word? We use that loosely sometimes. What is the Word? Yahweh's words, what he's speaking. So when he spoke his commandments, when he spoke the light into us, he spoke obedience into us. And then what did he do? He loved us enough that he gave us a choice. He gave us a choice. So again, 24, and Yahweh commanded us to do all these laws to fear Yahweh our Elohim for our good, always, to keep us alive. This sounds like freedom. Right. We were convinced that this was bondage. But this says that it's going to keep me alive, and it says it's for my good always. So therefore, why? Didn't Yeshua say this? Didn't Yeshua say this? A house divided. Y'all remember that? You know, when he was in the assembly, and they said, you know what? He's got Beelzebub. Well, he says, wait a minute, I'm casting out devils. If I'm casting out, why would I then be the devil that's being cast out? Makes no sense. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Yahweh will never come and die on the cross to say that his word is now null and void. Because that's a house divided. That's a house divided on itself. Why would Yahweh come in the flesh to release us from His word? He won't do it. So let's now jump over. We're going to jump over because there was a portion in this scripture. We're going to jump down. Let's go to first spot. Let's go to Exodus 17. Exodus chapter 17. Exodus chapter 17. And again, the Exodus is the perfect example for us to talk about bondage and freedom. Why? Because they were in bondage wanting to be free.
Right.
So this is a very, very good example for us. Exodus 17, 2 and 3. Chapter 17, verse 2 and 3. And it reads, Therefore the people strove with Moshe. Who did they strive with?
Moshe.
And said, Give us water to drink. And Moshe said to them, Why do you strive with me? Why do you try Yahweh? I'm going to read that again. Why do you strive with me, Moshe? Why do you try Yahweh? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people grumbled against who? Moshe, and said, Why did you bring us out of Mitzrayim to kill us and our children and our livestock to thirst? Why didn't you, in other words, why didn't you leave us in Mitzrayim? Why didn't you, okay, further interpretation, why didn't you leave us in bondage? We like our bondage. We ate meat to satisfaction. We want bondage. That's what they said. But what do we hear? What do we hear? What do we hear? Remember I threw that law of Moses, right? Law of Moses. So if I can say this is Moses' law, then that separates who it really is. But what did Moshe do? He corrected us. He said, Why do you strive with me? Why do you try Yahweh? Why do you try Yahweh? You know what? Because Moshe knew he wasn't that important. He knew that he was not that good where he could give these right rulings and these instructions that was spoken at Mount Sinai. He knew that it was not of him. He was up there. So if Moshe said it ain't his words, guess what? It ain't his words. It was him and Yahweh. And Moshe said it ain't his, so I guess whose is it? It's Yahweh's word. In 3 it says, And the people thirsted there in the water, and the people grumbled against Moshe, and they said, Why did you bring us out of Mitzrayim to kill us and our children with thirst? Then Moshe cried out to Yahweh, saying, What am I to do with this people? Yet a little and they shall stone me. These people are going crazy. Simply because Moshe called them to obedience. Now, again, if you think back, when we were reading in Deuteronomy, it talked about not trying Yahweh as they did at Massa. This is Massa, okay? So, let's go back. Let's go to Exodus 16, 7, 8. 16. Chapter 16, we're going to read verse 7 and 8. We're going to go back a chapter here. Chapter 16, verse 7 and 8. And in the morning you shall see the esteem of Yahweh, for he hears your grumblings against who? Yahweh. Against Yahweh. Who's these grumblings against? Is it against Moshe? Against Yahweh. My example. I always use this example, and I'll use it right here. My little sister. And she's here to actually. I ain't just talking trash behind her back. You know, she's right there. So, if I said, Lori, it was always making your bed up. My mom was something about making your bed up. Oh gosh. But anyway. Lori, make your bed up. Lori, Mama said, make your bed up. Okay. Yeah. It's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Now, was the word any different? No. But the authority.
Yes.
Are we willing to take authority from Yahweh and place it in a man? Are we brave enough to do that? Isn't that what Yahweh said? He said, wait a minute. You didn't set me apart, Moshe. Y'all know what Moshe said when you got to go between 2 or 3 books to figure this out. But very simply, Moshe said, how long shall we cause water to come from this rock? That's what Moshe said. We gonna cause water. And then Yahweh came back and said, I tell you what, Moshe, you're not going into the land. And the reason given, people say it's because he hit the rock there. Yeah, that might have been a part of it. But the reason that Yahweh spoke was, you did not set me apart. And that's the only time I can think when Moshe had the we going on. I mean, me and Yahweh causing the water to come from this rock here. No, Moshe. I caused the water to come from the rock. You're my servant. So we can't get too brave and say the laws of Moses, so that we can simply, I ain't making my bed up. You ain't nobody. One of her favorite lines from the Rugrats was, you ain't the boss of me. You ain't the boss. So even if Mama ain't saying, I might throw that in. Mama said, you gotta cook me something to eat. So the authority lies in the word. We don't ever want to take Yahweh's authority away and give it to another. This is the laws of Yahweh. Matter of fact, I don't want nobody, I'm not even going to say it myself. The laws of Moses. I don't want to hear it. Because he ain't good enough. It took a Yahweh.
Thank you, Father.
It took Yahweh. You know, anything less than that, and we in trouble. We in trouble, y'all. We walk on this earth. We in trouble if anything less than Yahweh is holding it all together.
That's right.
That's right.
So don't take his glory and give it to another, because he refuses to allow us to do that. So let's continue to read right there. Once again, 7 and 8. I'm going to start over. And in the morning you shall see the esteem of Yahweh, for he hears your grumblings against Yahweh. And what are we? This is Moses talking about him and Aaron. He's like, what are we that you grumble against us? We ain't nobody. And Moshe said, in that Yahweh gives you meat to eat in the evening and in the morning, bread to satisfaction, for Yahweh hears your grumbling which you make against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yahweh. So if somebody tells you that you're in bondage because you are obeying the laws of Yahweh, your grumblings are not against me, it's against him. Well, why you don't eat this? Well, why you go on this day? Well, why you blah, blah, blah? You in bondage. We was free from the law. Wait a minute. Just because you don't want to keep it, don't make it right. I don't care how high up you are, Bishop. I don't care how many churches you got under you. I don't care how many. Just because you don't think we're supposed to keep it, your grumblings are not against me, brother. Your grumblings are against Yahweh. So don't blame this. Moshe. And you know what? We still blame it on him. That's where that comes from, the law of Moses. We're still blaming it on Moshe. And Moshe is like, I know, I mean, would y'all please? It ain't mine. It's not his. It's not his. So now let's look at this, because again, this is an Exodus. And an Exodus gives us an example of, again, going from bondage to freedom. And this is a good interpretation of what that looks like. Let's go to Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. We're going to start reading at verse 28. And we're going to read down, starting at verse 28. Romans chapter 1, verse 28 on down. And it reads, "And even as they did not think it worthwhile to possess the knowledge of Elohim, Elohim gave them over to a worthless mind to do what is improper, having been filled with all unrighteousness, whoring, wickedness, greed, evil, filled with envy, murder, fighting, deceit, evil habits, whisperers, slanderers, haters of Elohim." Who did he say hate him? It's those who don't keep his commandments. That's what he said. I mean, I can't even add that. I'm sorry. I can't add that. He said, those who hate me. You know? He said, those who hate me. So he equates disobedience to him for hate. That's tough, y'all. Haters of Elohim, insolent, proud, boasters, devisers of evil, disobedient to parents, without discernment, and this is a big one, covenant breakers. Covenant breakers. Unloving, unforgiving, ruthless, who though they know the righteousness, now let's really pay attention right here. Because we always want to blame everything on people who ain't even saved. Right? They, oh yeah, this seed, you get out that drug house, this about, this, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I just would tell them. Okay, let's read. Though they know the righteousness of Elohim, they know the righteousness of Elohim. These are those who know the righteousness of Elohim, that those who practice such deserve death. Not only do the same, but also approve of those who, oh my goodness. They approve of those who practice them. So this is the, you know what? It's okay. I might know the truth, but if I reveal it, it's going to cause some upshaking and some rattling, some rolling, some less money, and so on and so forth. So if I shake this boat too much, it might tip over. So I'm going to approve of those who practice them. So I'll convince myself that it's okay for you to do lawlessness. Because pay attention, y'all. From 29, 30, 31, all of that's breaking the commandments. That's all it is. Different ways of breaking the commandments. So he knows exactly what's being said. We know exactly what he's saying right here. And the dead giveaway there is covenant breakers. What is the commands but a covenant? Covenant between Yahweh and his people. That he said, if you do this, I'll do this. If you don't, I won't. Very simply put. So there, let's go back up to 28 when we started out. And even as they did not think it worthwhile to possess the knowledge of Elohim. So how many people have you run into that say, you know what, that's just, yeah, whatever, that's good knowledge. That's good to know, whatever. I'm not even going to really stand here and listen to you talk because, it don't matter. It's not even worthwhile. That's what that is. It's not even worth my time to get into an understanding, to further myself in the knowledge of Elohim. Not worth my while. So what does Yahweh do? The King James says it turns them over to a reprobated mind. I'll allow you to believe whatever you want to. I will allow you to believe a lie. Strong delusions. Strong delusions. Do we think that delusions are for people who are already lost? No. These are the traps set for us. The people of Yahweh are the ones with the hurdles on the track. Okay? Everybody else gets to run around the track as many times as they want to, any direction, any which way, it doesn't matter. The people of Yahweh are the ones with the hurdles on the track. Because He wants us. Do y'all understand that when Satan went against Yahweh, his one thing was to conquer him? How do you think he wants to do that now? Us. He gets us, he gets to Yahweh. He gets us to be disobedient, us to be lawless. He's defeated Yahweh in his eyes. We can't allow him to win. We say we're the people of Yahweh, we can't allow him to win. We can't give him that victory. So then we have to count everything worthwhile. We don't want to be one that's given over to a worthless mind and doing those things which are improper. We don't want to be that person. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal. Don't be that person. One more thought. Let's turn to Jeremiah chapter 16. Jeremiah chapter 16. It's not even worthwhile. Chapter 16. Jeremiah chapter 16. We're going to look at verse 14 and 15. We can use the Exodus as an example. And might I say it like this? We need to use the children of Israel and the Exodus as an example. And the reason we do is because we have to experience the same thing. And yeah, we can talk about the spiritual aspect. We can talk about, the what everything stood for. Metaphorically, we can speak in those terms. But we're going to read something here that lets us know that there's something else that we got to be prepared for. 14, verse 14 and 15. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when it is no longer said, Yahweh lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of Mitzrayim. Or instead, Yahweh lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north. And who's in the north, y'all? Y'all remember that lesson? The northern tribes, the southern tribes? The 10 or the 2? Who's in the north? The 10. From the north and from all the lands where he has driven them. Where did they go from the north? Into captivity, right? Babylonian captivity, They went into Assyrian captivity. When did they come out of Assyrian captivity? They didn't. They didn't. When did we come out of, Spanish captivity? I guess you could call it. We never did. When did we ever come out of captivity of those who decided to come over to the Ivory Coast and start taking people? We never did. So, this lets you know that this might have something to do with us. The land of the north and from all the lands where he had driven them, for I shall bring them back into their land I gave to their fathers. See, I am sending for many fishermen, declares Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And after that I shall send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes in the rocks. Wow. 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 I'm going to read a little bit on. For my eyes are on all their ways. They have not been hidden from my face, nor has their crookedness been hidden from my eyes. Wow. So right there, this lets us know that there is still a struggle of freedom and bondage. And that truly that we are still in a place of bondage. We're still in a place of bondage. How do we know? Because this is speaking of an exodus. And it lets us know very clearly and very plainly that it's not talking about the exodus that was led by Moses. It tells us right there. I'm talking about something greater. What I'm saying to you is this exodus is no longer going to be spoken of because of what's to come. So if we don't get to the place where we take heed from the first exodus, the grumblings was not against Yahweh. It was not against Moshe. It was against Yahweh. So let's take heed to that. And let's understand that when we grumble against the Torah, when we take Yahweh's word, but when we take Yahweh's word and we say, we're not under that. We don't have to do that anymore. We are stepping right into those shoes. And our grumblings are not against the law. It's not against this piece of paper. It's not against this, electronic device here. It's not against, those leaflets of paper. It's not against any calfskin rolled up into a Torah scroll. But it is against Yahweh. So for us who understand that our accountability is truly to Him and not to man, then we can then look to this next exodus and start to ramp up. And we can start to prepare ourselves and don't grumble. And let's just simply practice. Because we know that we're going to get some stuff wrong. Because we know we're not going to always get it right. But don't grumble. Don't say, I don't want to do this. Don't say it's not worth doing. Don't say it's not worth my while. But let's practice. Let's get it down. That way, when it comes to light, and when this time comes that Yahweh is calling us from the north and from all the places where He has sent and driven us, that we can come back and we can come into our own land. And when we come into that land, trust me, He ain't allowing no junk to come. He ain't allowing the junk to come with us. So let's get it right now. So, truly, do we have freedom? Do we have liberty in the laws of Yahweh? That's the question. Then the answer is absolutely. For the bondage lies in disobedience. It lies in disobedience. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Amen.